When you're just about 50% of the way through the regular season, that means two things. One, it means the intensity surrounding the points situation gets ramped up to the next level. And two, it means to celebrate half the regular season, you gotta go to a half-mile track. The Sim Racers for Mental Health Truck Series presented by Shine MSD have done that for us as we roar into the Old Dominion for the Racing Insiders 65 here at Martinsville Speedway for round 4 on the calendar. Hello and welcome to the Paperclip, where up in the old-fashioned press box you'll find yours truly, Nick Schmeg, being joined alongside by Chris Phoebe. Joe Peak will be chowing down on some Martinsville hot dogs over in the corner, as he will be our director for this evening, and as always, he'll be using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Chris, Martinsville is a fan-favorite short track, and after watching a multitude of races here, it goes without saying as to why. But for those viewers that might be new to the half mile of mayhem, why don't you tell us a little more about why that nickname really lives up to this track?
Well, Nick, this track opened in the late 1940s, and it really harkens back to a time when short tracks were literally just a circle cut into a field in some farmer's backyard where a bunch of good old boys could take their cars to figure out who was fastest in their souped-up liquor machines. Martinsville Speedway is a track with tight turns and heavy braking, so look to see a liberal use of the chrome horn and an abundance of hurt feelings as these drivers negotiate the paperclip. And now we'll take a quick look at a lap around the .526 mile, 12 degrees of banking here at Martinsville Speedway.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Global SimRacing Channel. My name is Brian Yazek and I'll be taking you for a spin around Martinsville Speedway in the GSRC Silverado. Martinsville is all about corner middle to corner exit. If you can master those two things, you will find yourself in victory lane today. So setting up the entrance into the corner is important, as you see here, trying to find that curbing on the inside of the track. But don't get too low because then the car will actually jump out on you. Back down into turn 3 once again, find the yellow, back into the gas. Now your braking point here is probably a little bit later than you would be in the Cup car just because of the lack of power, but too far down, and that's what happens to you right there. You get a little squirrely on entrance and it basically kills your whole run off of the back straightaway. So back down into turn 3, float it through the middle on the brakes, still back into the gas really hard, let that truck surge out of the corner, back down into turn 1 one more time, float it through the middle, on the brakes, very lightly, back into the gas extremely quickly. Coming back down into turn 3, you're going to, once again, find the bottom. And Martinsville is a very rhythm-based track, so what'll happen is you find yourself in a nice little rhythm. You can kind of float the truck in the way you like it, but the right rear tire is going to be your best friend. If you abuse it too much early on in the run, it will make you pay later in the run, because coming off the corners you're going to be sideways the entire way off of the corner. Martinsville puts on a great show. It's a fun little paperclip track, and the winner today will be the one that does not have any scratches, or at least the least amount of scratches on their vehicle. My name is Brian Yazek and this is Martinsville Speedway.
There you see a handful of laps here around Martinsville Speedway, and even when you're by yourself on the track, you see just how aggressive you need to drive. It kind of reminds me of all those I-81 drivers here on the interstate in Virginia, especially when people find out that Mother's Day will soon be upon us. If you want to find a unique gift for mom and do some good at the same time, we have a great option for you. BLOC Industries employs men and women who need a second chance in life. BLOC trains individuals in job and life skills. These individuals will use the skills they are taught to create unique handmade gifts that mom will love. BLOC is working to change a community one life and one job at a time. Check out their Etsy page at etsy.com/shop/BLOC Industries. Enter coupon code iRacing at checkout and save 10% on a great gift for mom or for yourself. Once again, that is etsy.com/shop/BLOC Industries. That is BLOC, B-L-O-C, no K, and coupon code iRacing to save 10% on your order. You can also find the link on our YouTube page for more information. Chris, I already said we were about halfway through the regular season, but for new viewers joining us tonight, why don't you run down some of the race details we've got for us tonight?
Well, I will wait a minute on ordering my Mother's Day gift for my mother, since I had forgotten until that copy there. Do want to let you guys know this is a little bit longer than normal, because of the shorter track, so 125 laps, 65 miles on the docket, 50% fuel, going in these cars, and there are no fast repairs. It is a fixed setup race, and we'll be racing with the Silverados and Tundras this evening.
Absolutely, and I mentioned how being around 4 there, like you said, of the 8 in the regular season, 14 overall, we've got some points to take a look at as well. 3 races so far. We've had 3 different winners, so it makes for some very interesting situations. Connor Boris, Brandon Anderson, and Joseph Muley, they are your 3 winners. Fittingly, they sit 1, 2, and 3 in the standings, 7 and 10 points back. Anderson jumps Muley after last week. Scott Rickard, Jody Banfield, and Cody Tripp are there on the left side of your graphic there. 18, 21, and 22 points back. Then it gets real tight. Jack Wells is in by 1 point. And the final cutoff spot for the chase here in this series, only 8 drivers make it. So Cole Bushman, Brandon Miranda, and Jake Van Wazer. How about that? Moving up 7 spots up into 8th. They're going to have to get this sorted out because they've got Jared Mogard and Todd Slauson only 2 and 4 points behind them, and it gets even tighter after that. One of the drivers that is not even on the graphic there, he's back actually in 13th on the points, just knocked off 1 spot. He sits at the top of the practice time right now. Billy Kruska has a 20.177, fastest lap so far.
Yeah,
got a nice 20 truck field here tonight, Chris.
Yeah, I was just about to comment on that. A pretty solid field, one of the bigger fields we've seen for this series so far this season. And a lot of the names that we've talked about a lot this year are already at the top of the charts, but so far a great time for Bill Kruska in the 80.
Absolutely. Got about 2.5 minutes left here of practice. Everyone trying to tune in as many laps as possible. We've seen some drivers out here set, just a couple of laps. I noticed Billy Kruska with, despite having the fastest time on the board, he's only set about 15 practice laps so far. And you've got other drivers. Scott Rickard, I see he's set upwards of 60 laps just in this practice session as well. You got to remember, they've been practicing all week for this.
Now, Nick, being from Pennsylvania, did you celebrate the 17th anniversary of the Allen Iverson practice rant here that we celebrated this past week?
I did not. That is a holiday that often skips my calendar, but I
was going to invite you to my party, but I guess the invitation got lost in the mail. But as Nick mentioned, we talking about practice today with Bill Kruska, still at the top of the charts. A very close field, though, just 3 or 4 drivers separated by just a little bit more than a tenth.
Yeah, very tight times here. Very competitive field. We've seen that before. 3 races, 3 different winners. Like I said earlier, looking to add a 4th one today, possibly, with some of these names. Cody Tripp as well, 3rd place in practice. Haven't seen him win this year.
Yeah, Cody's been one of those drivers that has very regularly been battling towards the front of the field, but for one reason or another has had some issues bite him here and there, and he's trying to redeem himself a little bit today in Martinsville, Virginia, or Ridgeway, Virginia. I hate when they name the track after the town that the track's not in.
That does seem to happen quite a bit, doesn't it?
But we have some, like I said, a lot of new names that I haven't seen too often in this series creeping up today. And good to see the field growing. This is a very interesting series, put on a great show every race we've broadcast, and probably the ones that we didn't broadcast also. So we're happy to have them on board with GSRC this season.
Absolutely. Broadcasting 8 of the 14. We'll be back next week as well at Atlanta. That'll be amazing. Let's take a look at the weather right now. This might change in between the practice and qualifying and the race sessions, but right now we're seeing 95-degree track temperature and partly cloudy conditions. Chris, what does that mean for these drivers handling-wise out there?
Well, the track's hot, and when the track's hot, the track's slick. And with the concrete in the corners, that can make for things a little bit tricky, and it also makes those curbs and the turns all that more important, because if you have low grip, you upset the apple cart a little bit by hitting one of those curbs, and you're liable to go around pretty quick.
Absolutely. And you also have the transition into the concrete turns here. And then from the asphalt straightaways, and you have another little strategy here. Do you think we'll see many drivers use the downshifting technique here? We sometimes see people drop it into third gear here. It gets them very loose, though, especially if we have those conditions.
Well, that's going to take a driver with a lot more talent than I have. Usually my problem when I tried that technique would be that I'd forget to upshift and then wonder why I was hitting the rev limiter going down the straightaway.
Yeah, same here on the talent side of things. I just never usually got to have the opportunity to even upshift. I usually was in the wall by then.
Yeah, well, they say those who can't talk about it like they know something. So here we are.
Here we are indeed. Qualifying has begun. TJ McGuire on top of the board right now early on.
Yeah, and look at that. Looks like qualifying time's already substantially quicker than what we were seeing in practice, with TJ McGuire about 2.5 tenths, so a quarter second quicker than what we had before.
Joseph Mealy in second, winner back at Darlington.
Looks like those slick track conditions have already affected a few drivers. Here, kind of looking around the track, seeing a few drivers go around trying to put in a good time, so it could be tricky. And Connor Boris now hopping to the top of the charts, P1 with a 20.123, so a very quick lap for Connor Boris in the 52 truck.
And Cody Tripp is going to take that spot away from him. We were talking about him just a moment ago. He's going to go to the pole, 20 flat. But still quite a few drivers left to put a time up. Brandon Anderson, just as I say that, he gets down into the 19s with a 9.86. He goes to the pole. Haven't seen Billy Kruska set his lap yet. He's coming around, though.
Brandon Anderson at Dover last week actually said in his post-race interview that he hates that track and managed to put in a very impressive performance. So he seemed pretty positive about coming to Martinsville, and if he's feeling good about this and didn't like what he was doing last week, I can only imagine how great of a race he's going to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Saw Billy Kruska there go up to third, and then he jumped up to second. Jared Mogard with the 00 machine, he jumps up to third. Cody Tripp just like that down to fourth.
And it's not like Cody Tripp put in a bad lap either. That's a really solid time for this field, and unfortunately knocked him down a couple pegs just because the cream rising to the top, and these guys that put in impressive practice times are transferring it over to qualifying.
Thankfully for these drivers, there's no incident limit tonight with times this tight. You'd imagine you'd see some competitive racing, and competitive racing at Martinsville often means, like you said, a liberal use of the chrome horn. But there is no fast repair either. No spare truck sitting in the garage for these guys tonight.
Well, one thing the slow speeds here at Martinsville in the corners kind of plays to the favor is you can rub a little bit and not put yourself out of the race. At some of these higher speed tracks that we've been to earlier on, just a little touch, a little nudge, and somebody's day is over. So a little bit more forgiveness in this style of racing.
Absolutely.
Cole Bushman, who was pretty regular at the top of the field the last couple of races, looks like he may be running a little bit low on internet juice as he has some issues around the track. Clocks in 12th quick with a 23.62. So only one driver, Jason Stewart, yet to take a time.
Time winding down. I don't think Jason Stewart's going to put a time up. So that should be everyone for qualifying. With that, we're going to go jump into the grid of these 18 trucks. It is Brandon Anderson coming off last week's win at Dover. He is going to have the pole for tonight's race at Martinsville here at round 4. Billy Kruska going to be to his outside in the 88 truck with the 00 and the 21. Mogard and Tripp making up row 2. Connor Boris going to round out the top 5 with TJ McGuire, his partner in crime, in row 3. 7th and 8th place are going to go to Joseph Mealy and Nate Stewart. Scott Rickard and Jack Wells are going to round out the top 10. Chris?
Well, we got Todd Slauson in the 11th position, with Cole Bushman managing to post a 12th quick time. Jody Banfield in the 39 truck will come home in lucky number 13, with Paul Rigoli in 14th spot. 15th is Tyler Fody, with Connor Crichton and Rory Gamble being the last of our drivers to take a time. And then starting at the back of the field is going to be Jason Stewart, who did not make a lap in qualifying.
As the trucks grid up here tonight, we'll have a couple of pace laps instead of just one, for everyone to get sorted up, lined up, and ready to go for 125 laps. It's only about 65 miles. Hence the title sponsor name of the race, the Racing Insiders 65. We thank them for coming on board tonight.
You know, I got to say, I really like that paint scheme that the 88 of Bill Kruska has on there. It reminds me of late career Mike Eddy, for those of you that grew up around the Midwest. And the green and black 88, just great colors, looks good. Just a observation I had as we watched the cars grid up. A lot of really cool paint schemes we have in this class.
Absolutely. It's a great paint scheme. Of course, the admin of the series up there. Highly recommend you go follow them on social media. If you do already, you'd know that there's a special decal on that truck for a lost friend that he had. Some extra meaning to that paint scheme for him tonight. So a very really cool nice cause.
Yeah, really cool to see people taking up the cause like that. You know, Nick, I did expect the crowd in attendance to seem a little more lively, but they're sounding a little flat today.
Well, so far. That'll happen when you are two-dimensional. They are three-dimensional. My apologies.
Apparently, I need to turn my graphics card a little higher.
Well, if you're like me, your crowd is missing completely. We've got some empty grandstands on my end of things, but certainly not in the race today.
Well, 18 drivers set to take on the challenging paperclip here in Martinsville, Virginia. Really excited to get this one underway. Brandon Anderson looking to carry over the momentum from Dover and make it 2 wins on the trot. And Nick, I think we're coming to green here shortly.
We are. That iRacing Mustang pace car is going to pull off. Coming into turn number 3, that's where pit lane begins. They're just going by the pit exit now. Gives you an idea of, 1, why they call it the paperclip, and 2, just how small this paperclip is. Brandon Anderson, winner at Dover last week. He's got some tough short track racing competition to his outside. Billy Kruska in the 88, coming to the green flag, 125 laps to go. Oh, a little spin of the tires back there. That's Jared Mogart on the inside, but they all head down into turn 1 cleanly.
Well, that's got to be exactly what Cody Tripp was hoping for. That allowed him to dive bomb for the bottom line, which is exactly where you want to be on this.
Absolutely. Kruska able to stay with the 24 of Anderson, but it is going to be Brandon Anderson leading a lap number 1 here in Ridgeway. Mogard back down to the bottom for that 3rd place position. Trying to inch his way forward. You see so often here at Martinsville, drivers get stuck on the outside. Look at this, Cody Tripp going to get freight trained. TJ McGuire, the next in line. He's had some short track racing experience on Global SimRacing Channel here.
Yeah, tough break for the 21 of Cody Tripp. He was able to get to that bottom groove really quick at the start of the race, but being stuck on the outside is a tough place to be here. He might be able to slide in front of the 52. No, that's probably not going to happen. You know, Nick, one thing that we didn't talk about earlier that may play a role.
Trouble. Sorry to interrupt. We got trouble. Paul Rigoli has gone around. The 16 truck. This is back in turn number 1 as the first caution has flown. Almost got into it with the 39 of Jody Banfield. We take a look at this now. Did a nice job keeping it off the wall. Just got loose on the outside, it looked like. So the first victim of a caution flag flying tonight, Anderson taking the lead. From the start, he will hold it here as they come up to lap number 6.
And looks like Rigoli's going to take it to pit road, possibly for some repairs, maybe get some fresh shoes on, get her ready to get back on going on this one.
Tough start for the New Englanders' day. A couple more pitters, actually quite a few.
Pit road surprisingly busy for this early in the race. What do you think the strategy is going to be on that one, Nick?
Well, it's mostly the back half of the field with the exception of Billy Kruska. He came in from second. This is going to stick him right in the thick of traffic. With his much pace, I don't know if he's going to like that, but tires apparently he believes are going away here early.
One thing I was starting to touch on before we did get to the caution there was these drivers, something we may see here is a little bit of an issue with endurance. I mean, you don't think about that as much when it's iRacing, but those pedals are going to be working pretty hard on the brakes, hard on the gas. It's going to be a challenge for these drivers to stay in it for the duration. Also, I noticed Bill Kruska was parked at the end of pit lane.
And then he towed to his stall, so this is not going well for him. He's going to lose laps. But regardless, we're getting ready to send this back to green flag action already. Hopefully he gets his issues sorted out, but it's not looking good. The pace car is going to pull off. Coming up to lap number 9 of 125, Anderson now has Jared Mogard in the 00 to his outside. He takes the green flag early coming out of turn 4. He's going to clear Mogard before the line. They all dive down into turn 1. Troubles with Cody Tripp. He's going to be able to hold it there as he gets up into second.
Jared Mogard has not had an easy night as far as those starts go.
Oh, behind McGuire. Trouble there, and that was the 00 of Mogard having more bad luck. We'll take a look at that later on. Let's stay with this for now. This moves Cody Tripp up into second, Connor Boris into third. More shuffling happening through the field.
Well, the excitement picking up pretty early here, Nick.
Absolutely. These drivers not afraid to show some aggression early. Connor Boris right now all over the back of the 21 of Cody Tripp for second place.
Well, 39 of Jody Banfield got way up out of the groove. That's going to open the door for the 7 of Tyler Fode. Oh, Fode gets loose, slides up the track.
He's able to catch it. I've seen a lot of drivers tonight already, especially on this run, have that happen. Boris, as that was happening, takes second place. I can report no caution, but Rigoli just about looped it around once again. What a chaotic start here.
Yeah, not a lot of real estate out there on the Martinsville track, but definitely a lot of action here in the early running. And as you saw the weather popping up across the top of your screen, this is still a very hot and a very slick track, and these drivers are demonstrating that for us here tonight.
Absolutely. Tripp runs in third place right now. Joseph Mealy has caught him. Mealy started back in 7th. Already looking at a podium position here in that 93 truck. I can report as well, not sure what the issue was, but Billy Kruska's returned to the track. He's 2 laps down in 17th, so not the start he'd like to have, I'm sure.
Yeah, tough break for Kruska, having his issues in the early going a couple laps down, and it's going to have to be a fight back. Well, Jared Mogard having a rough race. He's already given up a couple spots that last lap. Looks like Scott Rickard and Todd Slauson both able to get by. And you can see the front end of that 00 machine all crumpled up.
He actually ended up hitting the inside wall. That was a couple laps ago, though. This is a little interesting accident, but he's able to keep it going. Just not the race he would like to have at all right now.
Yeah, looks like Mogard not having a truck that's suited to his handle, or the handle suited to his driving style, I should say. So it looks like he's kind of tiptoeing around the track, letting it set before he really gets on it. And you can see that he's losing a little bit of ground there on the entrance to the corners as he's trying to take it easy.
Mogard, mo problems. But thankfully for him, mo laps. A little battle, a couple spots ahead of him. Todd Slauson is fending off the likes of Scott. Actually, just got around Scott Rickard, it looks like. Rickard, though, going to take it right back down to the inside.
Yeah, Slauson actually passed him on the outside, which is not something you see very often here. But looks like trying to run the outside is now going to open the door back up for Rickard to get back to the inside. But Slauson running a little bit higher up on the track and was able to pull him down the straightaway as Jared Mogard now gives the 25 a shove, and he'll slip back by.
You can already see just how much damage a lot of these trucks have. Oh, I think the 25 here might return the favor to him if he can get up to him. This is the Martinsville we've come to know and love. Yeah,
And
I think Mogard might be pulling away from him.
the way Mogard's truck has looked like it's handling, I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't even an intentional hit on the 25er Rickard.
That's true as well. Oh, big slide out of Todd Slauson ahead of him. He's going to be able to stay in 7th, though. It's going to allow Mogard to close in a little bit, but like you said, handling problems for Mogard right now. That truck is a handful.
Slauson's been running a really interesting line. He's running way higher up on the track than we really see people do here, but it's like he comes off the corner and catches an extra gear or something and just pulls them down the straightaway.
Yeah, really diamonding the corner hard here. It's opening up the door, like you said, but on the flip side, it's giving him some rocket launchers coming out of the turns.
Yeah, you'll be able to see it here as he just begins to gap the 00 Mogard as he heads into the next corner.
This looks to be our best battle on track right now. Not missing anything up front. Anderson leads Boris by about 0.8 of a second. It's another 1.5 seconds back to Cody Tripp.
Mogard's really starting to run him down. He was right to the back bumper on the exit of the last corner.
He is indeed. He had those issues early on, but like I said, he's got a lot of laps to work with here. Lots of time to get back in this thing, and he's doing just that right now. Gets down to the bottom here on the backstretch. Gonna be able to send it in here down to 3 and 4. Oh, but look at the 33 holding real strong on the outside. Not for long. Give that spot to Jared Mogard.
Yes, Slauson just got a little bit too far out of the groove and got out of the concrete part of the track, as you saw, and unfortunately gave up just too much speed to the 00s. Maybe that handle on the 00 is starting to come to Mogard a little bit.
He's at least figured out how to work with it. If he's got any damage that's, or handling damage. He definitely has damage, that much you can see there on screen, but let's take a look back, check in on Brandon Anderson leading this race. The gap back to Connor Boris, it'll grow a couple tenths and it'll shrink a couple tenths every so laps.
Yeah, it doesn't really appear Anderson's pushing it too hard, but he's doing what he has to do to maintain the gap over the 52.
Yeah, exactly. About 3/4 of a second right now. 52 continuing to close in. 2 former winners this year. Boris getting the season opener at Pocono. Anderson getting it last week at Dover. All 3 of those throwing Martinsville in that mix. Very different tracks.
Yeah, the opening 4 rounds of this series have been 4 very unique and very difficult tracks, all in their own way. And this, the first short track of the season, really throwing a wrench in there. And so far, it's actually been one of the calmer events.
Yeah, schedule randomly created of the 14 tracks that were voted on. Very neat way to set the schedule. Creates a lot of different unique scenarios, like throwing all those oddball tracks in a line. Let's check in on Nate Stewart. He runs in the 13 truck ahead of Connor Crichton in the 19. This is back for P12. These are the last two trucks on the lead lap as well. Crichton getting a run out of turn 4 there, but looks like a little earlier on the brakes.
Ooh, 13 gets a little tail happy as he comes off at turn 2.
Yeah, a little wiggle there. Nice adaptation to a Casey Kane scheme there, it looks like. So, I guess it's fitting the little slide there, a little dirt racing.
It's nice that he's pro-core. I don't really know very many people that are anti-core.
This is true.
But I'm glad he feels passionate enough to put it on the side of his truck. So 19 of Connor Crichton still looking for the quick way around. Ooh, the 13 just scrapes the wall a little bit, it looked like, as he came down the straightaway. That allows the 19 to really close up, and then Crichton tags the curbs a little bit and loses a little bit of ground. And of course, as I say that, he actually has to slam on the brakes to avoid ramming Stewart in the back.
They've got Billy Kruska creeping up behind him as well. Not for position, though. 2 laps down, Kruska still is, and Kruska actually fighting hard to stay on that, I don't want to say on the lead lap, but fighting to stay only 2 laps down because Brandon Anderson about to lap all of these guys.
Well, the 19 of Crichton must have realized that racing the 88 wasn't going to be too productive for his efforts to stay on the lead lap, because he pulled right down to the bottom of the track. Unfortunately, looks like he'll still lose the lap as Kruska gets out of the leader's way. This could definitely be a wrinkle in the strategy of Brandon Anderson, depending on how these lap trucks go, because now that he's got some traffic in front of him, he may not be able to just cruise along like he has been trying to do here in the early run.
Absolutely. A lot of times, even in the real world of racing, we see that happen. Leader will be fast here, and traffic will create a headache. 3rd place. This is Joseph Mealy getting a pass on Cody Tripp.
Tripp's not going to take it, though. He's trying to fight back. Almost gets to the rear quarter on the 93, but not able to make it happen that time. He's going to travel in Mealy's footsteps there for a little bit as he tries to possibly get back to that back. And if you look, lurking not too far back is the 83 of TJ McGuire as well.
Yeah.
Waiting for one of these 2 drivers to slip up.
Or for them both to slip up, get into each other maybe. See that a lot here at Martinsville. Cody Tripp continuing to try to take back this position. And a little bit of a gap there, and you can see the different lines that they are running through these turns. You'd think with 2 sets of small turns here at Martinsville Speedway, you wouldn't have this many different racing lines, but it's pretty amazing that you do. Caution has come out. This is Connor Crichton. Out of the exit of turn 4, I believe. Sucked down into the inside wall and couldn't get it going again. Or couldn't get it going quickly enough, I should say.
Well, I did notice earlier the 19 of Crichton, when he was trying to pass the car or the truck in front of him, I noticed he caught the curb and lost a lot of ground when he was trying to pass Nate Stewart. I wonder if maybe he felt he was getting a little too close to the curb and maybe overreacted a little bit and ended up looping around.
Let's take a look to start that green flag run, which was a long green flag run, about 30 laps. Jared Mogard had some severe problems. We've got that saved for you. We're going to show you here now. Spun the tires. You can see him in the 00 on the outside there.
Yeah, just kind of Typical Martinsville there, got shoved up the track, and
Yeah, domino effect there, domino reaction. Little bump on the 83 of TJ McGuire. Everyone had to check up, get out of the way, and the deck was shuffled. Let's go on board with Connor Boris. He might have initiated this a little more. You can see him get down into the inside of McGuire there. Has to check up and dives it back down deep again.
yeah, just knocked the 83 loose, and he went skirting up the track, and unfortunately the 00 was nothing but a passenger at that point.
Boris wanted to see if that barbecue sauce rear bumper was scratch and sniff. It was not. But it was a valiant effort to try. While we were watching the replay, we also had some caution flag pit stops from just about everyone, I believe, because Anderson still has the lead. The only people that stayed out were people trying to get their laps back, like Billy Kruska, who leads the field now tentatively, not on the same lap as the leaders, but rides geographically as if he were the leader.
Looking at the notes here, looks like Paul Rigoli was also given a waiver round, so that should give him a lap back as well.
Yep, saw the 16 truck of Rigoli get into some problems early to bring out our first of two yellows. Double file formation for these drivers.
Is Anderson electing to start on the outside?
I was wondering that. That's interesting. Well, all right. Boris is going to have the inside. And here we go. Coming through turns 3 and 4, working lap number 49. The green flag's in the air. Look at the jump that Anderson's got. Hey, it looks like it worked for him as they head down into turn number 1.
Ooh,
Little
that
shove from
start,
Boris.
Yeah, that start did not work very well for Connor Boris as the 93 Joseph Mealy gives him a shove.
Well, maybe Anderson knew more than we thought there, because it worked out well for him. They continue to shuffle their way all through the back of the field.
That was a heck of a restart by the 24 Anderson. He just slammed on the loud pedal and away he went.
Absolutely.
Already over a half-second advantage over the field since we've gone back to green, but of course the 52 of Connor Boris also probably stacked up the field a little bit behind him when he had to gather it back up after getting that shot in the back from Joseph Mealy.
Pretty clean restart other than that little checkup there from Mealy and Boris. They all get single file pretty quickly. Interested to see if Boris is able to close in here on the likes of Anderson for the lead. It looks like he might be a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say clean is really a relative term when talking about Martinsville Speedway.
Yes.
What's clean here is probably about as dirty as it gets at most other tracks.
We're right on board with Mealy here. Looking back, Cody Tripp inching forward in the 21 machine. Tripp started 4th. That's where he rides now. Mealy, on the other hand, he's climbed from 7th up into the podium.
And how about another quick shout out to our fantastic camera guy, Dougie Beard. These camera views are just, it's like art. I love watching some of these great views that we have that we can provide for you guys watching at home here on GSRC.
Oh yeah, they are pretty fantastic, if I do say so myself. Back to 7th place. Tyler Fody holding off, Tyler Fody chasing down Jack Wells, it looks like. Fody holding off Rickard. That's a ways back. This is mostly Fody chasing down Wells for 6th here. TJ McGuire just a car length or two ahead of him, or truck length, I should say.
Did we ever get an answer on what hashtag taco soup is?
I don't think so, but I like it.
Well, right now I have taco soup and Miller Genuine Draft on the mind, and I can't really seem to figure out why.
I don't know if they go well with Martinsville hot dogs, but it's worth a shot. Tyler Fody seems to have taco soup on the mind as well. He can't get around it. He has barbecue sauce ahead of him, so a whole menu here tonight for him, a whole buffet.
Picked a really bad night to forget to eat before we hopped on here, Nick.
These drivers sort themselves out for the time being. Doesn't look like the 7 of Fody's going to have too much for the 80 of Wells here. Unless we see a mistake. Oh, big mistake ahead of him. Who is that across the track? That's the 21 of Cody Tripp. This is a hard crash.
That's going to bring out another caution. Is that our 3rd or 4th of the event?
The 3rd. Hard hit into the inside wall coming out of turn 2. All by himself. Didn't collect anyone else, although it was close.
Yeah, something we didn't touch on earlier that hasn't really came up until just now is exactly how narrow the straightaways are at this track. Not very much room to try to negotiate around the 21 of Cody Tripp, as he ended up facing the wrong way. So pit stops ongoing. Looks like a good chunk of the field coming down pit road.
Looks that way. Looks like Nate Stewart has decided to stay out, among a couple others, but Anderson comes in. He surrenders the lead. Connor Boris, Joseph Mealy as well.
Seems like these pit stops really not something any of these drivers are thinking about. The caution comes out, they're coming down pit road.
Yeah, they do have a 50% fuel limit, so half the size, about 9 gallons of fuel that they can fill up. Nate Stewart as well, I can report, did eventually bring it down. So this should cycle Anderson back to the lead, I believe. I think everyone is in, at least at one time or another here. Yeah, this is going to cycle Anderson back to the lead. Boris 2nd. Mealy 3rd. So no change up there. Wells remaining in 4th. Actually, I believe Wells jumping McGuire for 4th. That was 4th, and then Cody Tripp wrecked out of 4th place. He is in the pits still getting damage repair. He's at least 2 laps down. Probably going to be more here by the time this is all said and done with.
Now, I'm not a numbers guy, Nick, but it does look like we are closing in on halfway. Looks
We
like
are indeed.
Paul Rigoli and Bill Kruska both getting a wave around.
Yeah, over halfway here at Martinsville Speedway. And it looks like Anderson, or actually it looks like Boris has just assumed that Anderson, unless they've talked this out previously, he's going to take the outside. A couple more wave arounds. Last second. As they are going green this time, it looks like. So they'll want to get formed up as quickly as possible. But yeah, Brandon Anderson, your leader. It worked for him to a T last time, starting on the outside. He's going to do it again. Coming up to lap number 66, just past the halfway mark at the half mile of mayhem. The green flag back in the air. Brandon Anderson gets on the loud pedal. A fantastic start. Connor Boris defending the likes of Joseph Mealy right behind him for 2nd.
A much easier start for Connor Boris than last time, but Brandon Anderson once again on a different level than everybody else on these restarts.
They all get sorted out pretty well, at least in the top 5. Little battle. Actually back for 5th. Tyler Fody on the outside of TJ McGuire. Ooh, a little bit of a wash up there from McGuire. Almost into the left side of Fody's truck.
Yeah, you put yourself in a bit of peril by being on the outside this early going in a set of tires. In a run on a set of tires. There we go. Words are hard.
First race of the season for Tyler Fody. He's doing a heck of a job in his debut. At least fighting for a top 5 spot at Martinsville halfway through. I'd call that a heck of a debut.
He's really hanging on to that outside line.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed.
That familiar looking truck right behind him is Jared Mogard in the 00. Again, the 83 of McGuire washes up a little bit. That's not intimidating Fody at all, though, on the outside.
Ooh, and they touched that time.
Yeah, you better be careful. They've been side by side for half a dozen laps at this point. Pretty incredible to see here at Martinsville. Especially, yeah, look at the run Fody gets out of the turn 4 there and back down into turn 1. Mogard all over the back of him. Now all 3 of them are going to come together and touch. Finally, McGuire's going to clear him. Fody now has to change his attention to Mogard behind him for 6th place.
Yeah, we had the human centipede of race trucks there for a moment, but everybody able to keep it pointed in the right direction. But that's going to allow Todd Slauson to kind of creep into the picture.
Slauson having some major problems, actually. He hit the curb and just about lost it. He continues to lose more positions. That was a close call for Slauson.
Yeah, those curbs at the inside of the track make these tight corners even that much more difficult.
Another driver I've been noticing the last couple laps struggling with handling is Brandon Anderson for the lead. Not only does he have Connor Boris behind him, but Connor Boris has Joseph Mealy all over him for 2nd place right now.
Yeah, this is as close of a battle up front as we've seen all day. Anderson, up to this point, has been doing a tremendous job managing the gap, keeping it well over a half second over Connor Boris, but now Boris turning up the wick a little bit here in the later runnings of this race.
Back down into turns 3 and 4. They dive their trucks into. Very heavy trucks, very tight corners. And they got to stay off of each other. 125 times, or 250 times, I suppose.
Yeah, these trucks are, just like you said, very heavy vehicles, and negotiating them around these tight corners is not an easy thing to do. There's a lot of muscle being thrown into those force feedback wheels, trying to get these trucks pointed in the direction that you want. And just like that, our leader already hitting lap traffic, the 19 of Connor Crichton up ahead.
Yeah, it's not going to help him at all, especially there's not too many lanes to choose from here at Martinsville. Crichton, a lap down already, though, so he'll get blue flagged. Or the equivalent of the blue flag here on iRacing's oval program. Looks like Jared Mogard has finally gotten by Tyler Fody. That was for 6th place, if you remember, just a couple dozen laps ago. He's now going to change his attention to trying to chase down TJ McGuire, about a second ahead of him. That'd be potentially for a top 5 for Jared Mogard. Winner back at... I'm sorry, he hasn't won this year.
Mogard having a very up and down day, had his struggles early on, got shoved up out of the groove and fell way back into the field. But he's hung out and done a great job getting himself back up to the running order. So all's quiet on the western front here in Martinsville, Virginia, which is... Oh, we have a driver coming to pit road. Looks like Nate Stewart coming down pit lane. He was the driver that stayed out later than everybody else during the last run. I wonder if maybe this is a fuel play, but this is probably going to cost him a couple laps, Nick.
Oh, for sure. One of the easiest tracks to lose laps in when you have a green flag pit stop like this is Martinsville. He's got damage. Looks like a 4-tire stop for now. And it's got to be damage repair. He's going to continue to sit there. Might have some engine problems. Might have been overheating, possibly. That's the last thing you want to have happen here at Martinsville. Mechanical issues.
Yeah, like you mentioned, so easy to go a lap down here, especially when you're parked on pit road.
Yeah, and he's probably honestly already gone 3 or 4, maybe even 5 laps down just sitting there. I mean, 20 seconds a lap. So 2 laps down, he gets out. That's going to send him back to 15th, it looks like. Bill Kruska's going to pick up a spot there, move himself back up into 14th. A little bit of a battle for 13th, actually. Connor Crichton and William Kruska both 2 laps down, but going at it.
Well, every spot counts in this series, especially as we get closer towards the playoffs.
Yeah, and Bill Kruska, one of those drivers looking in. He's back in 13th in the points. This is one of his best tracks. He'd love to make up some points here. He's going to have to get some more positions, though. He goes to the outside of Crichton. He might make this pass work on the outside. Oh, not into the wall, though.
Yeah, the wall has a way of slowing you down as he wheels it into turn 3.
He is still holding really strong on the outside, though. I got to give him credit. He is gonna take it. Wow. So move Kruska up to 13th. Let's go replay that. That was some incredible driving. I mean, hitting the wall, getting sideways, and on the outside at Martinsville, all in the same lap, making a pass. You don't see one of those 3 things happen very often, let alone all 3 of them on the same lap. And the caution comes out. This is Paul Rigoli. He's sitting backwards on the front stretch. Oh, this was TJ McGuire as well. In fact, this started with TJ McGuire. Mogard had caught him and shoved him just a little bit. McGuire tags Rigoli. Looks like. We can take a look here. You'll watch Mogard dive it in here. Get to the back of McGuire. There it is. Loops him around. Tried to save it, but there was Paul Rigoli. And they're back down pit lane.
Yeah, that incident just looked like typical Martinsville racing as we now have drivers hitting pit road. Whew, that was a close one. But just classic Martinsville. It's getting late in the race and drivers are losing their patience a little bit, to put it.
Yeah, there's not going to be too many laps to go. We'll see how many there are once they get sorted out here. Anderson handily wins that race off pit road. Again, the only drivers that stayed out. Looks like Billy Kruska possibly trying to get a lap back or 2. And he's going to come into the pits at 50% fuel limit. Even with all these caution flags, might be causing issues. That are just handling with these tires and the damage. That's probably more likely.
It does look like Kruzka also was one of the wave around trucks on that last caution as well.
Yes.
So he might come out of this just one lap down and cautions fall the right way. He could possibly find his way back onto the lead lap, and it's not out of the question he may be able to get back in this one.
Absolutely. Him and Connor Crichton are both one lap down. There's the weather on screen. It has cooled down considerably. It's gone from... it's got a little cloudier here in Southern Virginia. Down to 83 track temperature. It was about 93 earlier.
Yeah, track cooling off pretty substantially for the amount of racing we've had. So this could mean the grip level's coming up a little bit, which I'm sure there's a few drivers that'd be pretty happy for that to happen. Once again, looks like Anderson's going to elect to restart on the outside.
He is indeed. They make their way onto the backstretch. 30 laps to go at the green flag here. 30 half-mile circuits here at Martinsville. Anderson gets on the gas early here out of turn 4 once again. Boris is going to slide up to the outside. They're side by side behind him with Mealy on the outside. Or I'm sorry, the inside. He's going to take that spot over TJ McGuire in 4th. They get themselves sorted out back through 3 and 4. Everyone trying to make up last second spots here. 29 laps to go. Anderson continues the lead.
Exactly, with the laps winding down, this is where people stop being polite and start getting real.
Tyler Fode looking for a spot here. 4th place over TJ McGuire, maybe. He's got Jared Mogard behind him. Little bump from Fode onto McGuire now.
Well, there were all those laps where Fode was on the outside of McGuire, and McGuire wasn't playing nice. We almost went 3 wide there, Nick.
Almost. Fode's going to take that spot. Oh, Mogard down to the bottom. He's going to move him out of the way. Washes up the beach.
What a save by Tyler Fode.
Yeah.
He had absolutely no business getting that one back.
He's still stuck on the outside, but it could have been a whole lot worse for the driver of the number 7 machine. Driver out of Florida.
Well, Jared Mogard not making very many friends out there, but he finds himself just outside of the podium positions now, almost where he started.
He has not been afraid to show his aggression getting back up to that podium. That's for sure. Not the first truck he's used the chrome horn on. The little bump and run. He's got quite the gap ahead of him, though, to Joseph Mealy in 3rd. A little over a second and a half.
A tough break for Tyler Fode. He was battling for 4th and now finds himself back in the 8th position. So losing quite a few spots here in the late running.
Not much has changed up front. Connor Boris still continuing to try to chase down Brandon Anderson. He's gotten close a couple times. As we watch here, Tyler Fode.
Connor Boris up in P2, maintaining a pretty close gap up to the 24 Brandon Anderson for the lead. It's just he's frustratingly close to the leader, but unfortunately not able to do anything with.
He's getting closer and closer. He really hugged that curb without getting jacked up on top of it. Great turn 3 and 4 there for Connor Boris. And time winding down, about 20 laps to go.
Yeah, he about cut Anderson's lead in half that last lap.
He's there. You see Anderson wash up a little bit. Taking slightly different lines. Oh, Boris gets in hot that time. The brake bias really showed on that turn.
You know, that's something that you can see here when you have a driver that's been in second place as long as Boris has. He kind of starts to get a sniff of the back of the 24 Anderson and following the leader in front of him, trying to close the gap and starting to overdrive the corner a little bit and losing some ground.
Absolutely. One of the many things you can do here in your truck setup-wise. Big one here at Martinsville for sure. Joseph Mealy really starting to close in on Boris now after that little mistake.
Battle brewing for the 5th spot is the 83 TJ McGuire trying to hold off a charge from the 39 and Jody Banfield. Banfield, the driver we haven't really talked about much today, but he's quietly working his way up through the field. And, of course, as I say that, he hits the curb and opens the door for Tyler Fode.
The commentator's curse never fails. Fode down onto the inside. More problems for Banfield on the outside. He almost got into him.
Well, after the way he was treated a little bit early on, Fode probably going elbows up a little bit around the half mile here. Ooh, but the battle's still going on between those two as Fode now washes up.
Even more contact between the two. Fode gets a little tap there last time around. You saw on screen from Banfield, the 39 still trying to chase him down, but trying to keep that truck, well, as clean as possible at this point. Fode goes a little high that time around. Everyone trying to gain last second spots here. But dozen laps to go.
Yeah, these laps click off really quick around this track, Nick. And so it may seem like quite a few laps, but really these are going to go by really fast. So the clock is ticking as these drivers need to try to gain every position they can.
Yeah, about 3 laps a minute. Brandon Anderson has left Boris in the dust. Boris has issues of his own now. Not only maybe some handling issues, maybe used up those tires a little much on this run, but also he's got Joseph Mealy in the 93 behind him. The driver out of New York.
Yeah, you can only conserve for so long. Eventually you have to go for it. And Connor Boris went for it. But unfortunately we use that in the past tense because it looks like that charge may be all used up. But then again, this is Martinsville, so it's not out of the question that we could see another caution here shortly, and that could completely change the game.
That is true. That battle back for 5th still raging on. TJ McGuire actually having problems. He's down on the apron. The 7 in front of him, Fode washing all the way up the banking. And they come back side by side after some contact on the front stretch. Fode on the outside.
These two have been just about magnetized this whole race.
Jody Banfield back in the mix as well, back running in 7th. We'll stay here as long as possible. Banfield trying to get that bumper to the back of the 83. Can't quite get there. Can't quite stretch out the gas enough there in the turn. You can see them driving deeper and deeper into the turns now. Getting more and more aggressive.
And speaking of drivers that had issues earlier on, look just ahead of that battle as Tyler Fode now gets to the back bumper of Jared Mogard. Looks like he kind of went after Mogard there a little bit, but Mogard was too far ahead.
Yeah, Mogard's been the aggressor tonight. He hasn't been on the receiving end of that too much. But now he's got Tyler Fode trying to take a position away, and look at the big run the 83 had there for a while. TJ McGuire coming through there. They come up to 6 laps to go for these drivers. Smooth sailing for our leaders as we watch this unfold. Anderson, a 1.5 seconds ahead of Boris, a 1.5 seconds ahead of Mealy. Fody all over the back of Jared Mogard now for 4th place. Oh, a little checkup there.
Yeah, Mogard has a better entrance into the corner, and right now that's not giving Fody the room he needs to try to chase down that back bumper and move Mogard out of the way. But as I say that, he closes right in as they head down the back straightaway. He's going to look to the inside into turn 1.
He takes a peek on the bottom, side by side at the exit of turn 2. Mogard loose, contact made, and a hard crash in the middle of the back straightaway. The caution flies. The race is going to be over. That's going to hand the win to Brandon Anderson here at Martinsville. What a way to finish it. Wow. Let's take a look at that again. That was crazy. Fody on the outside. I'm sorry, the inside rather. Got to the inside down in 1 and 2. Someone there. That was that
Jack,
Scott Rickard?
That was Jack
Wells.
Wells, I think, that snuck through there.
Oh, it was Jack Wells. Yeah, absolutely. Let's go on board with Jack Wells, who was riding back in 7th.
Swoop. Just sneaks his way right through there.
Final lap here under the caution flag. Brandon Anderson picked up his first win of the season last week at Dover. He said that he didn't like Dover and he loved Martinsville, and he got the win at Dover. So no surprise to see him dominate this race at the paperclip. The half mile of mayhem and the grandfather clock. It's going to go to Brandon Anderson, the driver out of California. He picks up the win here in the Sim Racers for Mental Health Truck Series presented by Shine MSD here at round 4. You can see them all streak across the line. We are going to step away for just a moment here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Make sure to see all of the upcoming events on the screen roll by as we get set to give you the race results and driver interviews. Stick around for that. Welcome back to the tiny town of Ridgeway, Virginia, where one of the famous grandfather clocks has been handed out, at least the virtual version of the grandfather clock, to Brandon Anderson. He picks up his second straight win and second win of the season here in the Sim Racers for Mental Health Truck Series presented by Shine MSD. Connor Boris going to be right behind him in second. Joseph Mealy third. They were all pretty stretched out there at the end when the caution flag flew. TJ McGuire going to come home with a solid fourth place. He adds to his short track racing resume here on iRacing. Jody Banfield, solid performance tonight. Quiet race, coming from 13th up to 5th. Scott Rickard, Jack Wells, Jared Mogard, Todd Slauson, and Bill Kruska found himself a top 10 late in the going and on the lead lap as well. That'll round out the top 10 cars here. It's top 10 trucks here, rather, at Martinsville, though.
Tyler Fody disappointed to come home in 11th, last truck on the lead lap, as Connor Crichton and Paul Rigoli finish in 12th and 13th, a couple laps down. Then we have our non-finishers, Cole Bushman in the 2, Nate Stewart in the 13, Cody Tripp in the 21, and Rory Gamble in the 77. Jason Stewart not taking the flag.
So there you have your race results. Got a couple drivers to talk to, it looks like here. Let's go to our second place finisher this evening. That's Connor Boris. Just coming up shy at the end there, Connor.
Yeah, I just overdrove it a little bit, and he got away, and I just started overdriving it every corner.
Yeah, we saw him, pull away a couple times on every single green flag run. One thing I'm curious though, looked like he was taking the outside line on the green flag starts. I think that's the first time we've seen that this year in the season. What was your reaction to that, having to start on the inside?
We're teammates, so we planned that.
Well, that's another thing we were wondering is, how much verbal communication happened, between you and him and the rest of the field, without knowing you were teammates. But that makes a lot more sense there.
Yeah, we're teammates, so I was pretty nice to him on that last run when I was there. I wanted to move him, but I didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. We have Atlanta next week, and we're halfway through the regular season already. It's hard to believe, but Atlanta broadcasted next week here on GSRC with the playoffs in sight. You feeling pretty comfortable to make it at least to the chase?
Yeah, I think I have that one covered.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we see you there, and hopefully we get to talk to you in the booth again. But congratulations on your second place finish tonight at Martinsville.
All right, thanks.
There's Connor Boris, driver of the number 52 Chevy Silverado here in the SR4MH Truck Series. We have our race winner who has caught up with us, the long burnout, maybe lost the motor, but thankfully this is iRacing, so a little less expensive. Chris, you've caught up with Brandon Anderson.
Yes, I have. The champagne's been sprayed, and we are down here in Victory Lane. Brandon, 2 in a row. You said you were looking forward to Martinsville, and looks like it paid off.
Do we have you there, Brandon?
Well, Brandon may be having some technical difficulties there.
Let's see if we get Joseph Mealy here, our third place finisher, to talk to Chris.
Well, Joseph, an eventful race as you find yourself finishing on the podium from 7th on the grid. Tell us about your march up through the field.
Oh, man, it was, just a Martinsville race. Got into a couple guys. We had a third place truck. We finished where we should have finished. We had nothing for Brandon or Connor, so it was just a fun night of racing. It was fun to race a short track with guys who knew what they were doing for the most part.
Yeah, what kind of challenges does it take going from a track like Dover and moving over to such a tight track like Martin?
Well, Dover, you're in the throttle so much, and you're going so fast around that racetrack. And Martinsville, you got to really finesse it around there. But there's a couple similarities you can take from the two racetracks and getting around each other. You have to kind of have the same mindset to get around those places, as crazy as it sounds. So it's not like the craziest difference, but it's definitely different. Took me until about lap 70 to get used to braking and whatnot. So
yeah, that was something we kind of touched on early on. You get a little bit of a sore ankle probably being so heavy on the brake and hard on the.
They definitely, your back definitely starts to feel it, especially when you're saving gas and that clutch.
All right. Well, that is our third place finisher, Joseph Mealy. Thanks for coming on, Joseph, and best of luck next week.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for covering us.
That was Joseph Mealy finishing third place this evening. We're going to try to talk to Brandon Anderson one more time here. Brandon, do you have a copy? I think we had you there for a second. There you go. How about that race there? A pretty dominant performance there out of you in the 24 team, it looked like. Looks like, unfortunately, some more technical difficulties here for Brandon. Oh, well, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to talk to him this evening. But we do want to give a special thank you to everyone who came out tonight and supported this race. The fourth round of the Sim Racers for Mental Health Truck Series presented by Shine MSD. Especially everyone who helps over in the organization and behind the scenes logistics at the SR4MH. We also want to thank the sponsor for tonight's race, Racing Insiders, the Racing Insider 65. And an additional thanks to all the amazing companies that provide the software and hardware that we use to create a GSRC production for you. We also, of course, want to thank the very talented June Lalonde who provides our music. See the screen for more on how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team tonight, Chris, Joe, and Dougie. Make sure to check out the GSRC on social media as well. You can do that at our website on globalsimracingchannel.com, on Twitter at GSR Channel, on Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, on Instagram at GSRC_gram, and of course, on our YouTube channel right here, right now. I would invite you to scroll down just a touch and hit that big red subscribe button so you don't miss a second of racing. That's going to do it for the racing tonight here in the Sim Racers for Mental Health Truck Series presented by Shine MSD. The SR4MH Racers will be back next week, next Wednesday night, May 15th at 10:30 Eastern for some more awesome racing, that time, like I said earlier, down in Atlanta. Make sure to mark that down on your calendar and come join us for that. Finally, with all that being said, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast tonight. And until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.